unwittingly opened a portal that brought demons into this world.
We only assumed, because we had no expertise, that this was a portal to hell.
There is a mysterious ancient castle hidden deep within the mountains of the Czech Republic. Legend has it that this castle was built directly on top of a gateway into hell. Local folklore describes the portal as a bottomless pit which entities used as a physical entrance into our world. Join us as we investigate the legend of Hell's Gate at Houska Castle.
Welcome to Castle Houska. There is no reason for this structure to exist way out here in the middle of nowhere. This is the inner courtyard, gentlemen, where many horrific events have taken place. We unearthed 3 Nazi soldiers who were executed. We have a prominent writer who stayed here during the end of the 1800s and reported that he saw winged black creatures flying around this courtyard where we stand right now. What normally one would consider demonic and demons. What we're standing on right now used to be a hole going so far down that no one knew its depths. The villagers, they saw a half-human and half-animal-like creatures. They believe that this is the gates of hell. When this structure began construction, they took all the prisoners from the local prison, they gave them a death party. If they would allow themselves to be lowered to the hole, they would be set free. First prisoner went down. After a few seconds, he began screaming bloody murder. He had white hair, wrinkles, looked like he had aged several decades in several minutes. And went to the insane asylum and died 2 days later of unknown causes. Unknown causes.
Houska Castle was an early Gothic structure built between the years 1253 and 1278, and folk legends surrounding the castle make for a chilling tale. The legends hold that Houska Castle was built on top of an apparent bottomless pit, in the hole that locals contend led straight into hell. And what's worse, it didn't just lead to hell, but it also led hell into our world, as the villagers were terrified of half-human and winged creatures which would emerge and confine the villagers to their homes at night. Legend has it that during its construction, the pit was used as a form of justice, in that the condemned were offered a reprieve if they agreed to be lowered into the abyss and report on its depth. As the legend goes, one unfortunate man was lowered down only to let loose a series of agonized screams. When he was pulled out, he had aged 30 years instantly. He had gone in a young man, and when he came out, he was withered, old, and gray, and not to mention raving mad. This castle sat undisturbed for nearly 700 years, until the 1940s when the Nazis came and took over the castle. Today's visitors can tour the castle, which housed Nazis and legendary demons. Some visitors have reported hearing a chorus of screams emanating from the chapel floor that was built over the hole, as well as clawing and scraping noises.
As soon as I heard that word scraping,
it's a portal.
A portal to that other world.
The Bible makes it clear that portals like this not only exist, but have been used throughout history as a way for the unseen entities to gain access into our world and manipulate mankind. Ephesians 6:12, quote, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Now, let's take a look at the legend that surrounds Houska Castle. If you go to the website atlasobscura.com, they have a nice article written out about this castle. Quote, "In the second half of the 13th century, a mysterious Gothic castle was built. It wasn't near any water, it wasn't strategically important, and it didn't seem to have anyone living in it. According to local legend, it was meant to trap demons. Supposedly, a gate to hell opened on the craggy Czech mountain. The castle was constructed around the portal, and a chapel was plopped directly on top of the hole to keep evil monsters from spilling out of the underworld and slipping into the human realm. Folklore says the supposed gate to hell was so deep no one could see the bottom of it, and those who did attempt to enter the dark orifice encountered demonic human-animal hybrids. People claim cars won't start near the castle, and strange, bleeding beasts still roam the area after dark.
It is a beast, a monster.
I fear we're dealing with
A vampire.
The article goes on to say, Nazis occupied the fortress during World War II, and multiple myths abound about their supposed occult involvement there. If this truly is built on top of some sort of portal into another world, it makes total sense why the Nazis would occupy it. We all know about the Nazis' heavy involvement in occult practices. The Vril Society is just one example of that. It's a documented fact that the Nazis were heavily into black magic rituals and human sacrifice.
Almost like a human sacrifice.
At first glance, the castle seems quite ordinary, but upon closer inspection, one notices a few strange features. Firstly, many of the castle's windows are actually fake. If you look closely, you'll see that most of the windows are merely facades, glass panes behind which sturdy walls are built. Secondly, the castle has no fortifications, no water source, no kitchen, and for years after it was constructed, there were no occupants. This makes it clear that Houska Castle was not built as a prospective sanctuary or a residence. The location of the castle is also peculiar. It is situated on a remote area surrounded by thick forests, swamps, and sandstone mountains. The location has no strategic value and is not situated near any trading routes. Many people have wondered why Houska Castle was built in such a strange location. Ancient legends may be able to answer that question. According to folklore, Houska Castle was constructed over a large hole in the ground, which was known as the gateway to hell. It is fabled that the hole was so deep that no one could see the bottom of it. Legend has it that half animal, half human creatures used to crawl out of the pit at night, and that black winged creatures used to attack locals and drag them down into the hole. It was believed that the castle was built to keep the evil in. The location of the castle was specifically chosen in order to cover up this mysterious pit from which the demonic creatures emerged at night. The castle chapel was specifically built over the bottomless pit in order to seal the evil in and keep demonic creatures from entering our world. But even today, over 700 years after the pit was sealed, visitors still claim to hear the scratching of creatures from the lower floors at night, trying to claw their way up to the surface. Others claim to hear a chorus of screams coming from beneath the heavy floor. When the construction of the castle began, it is said that all the village's prisoners who had been sentenced to death were offered pardons if they agreed to be lowered by rope into the bottomless pit and then to report back what they saw. The first man was tied up and lowered into the hole. In a few seconds after he had disappeared into the darkness, he began screaming in horror and begged to be pulled back up. When the prisoner, who was a young man, was pulled back up to the surface, he looked like he had aged 30 years in the few seconds he was in the pit. His hair had turned white and he had grown extremely wrinkled. He was still screaming when they pulled him up to the surface. He had been so disturbed by what he experienced in the darkness that he was sent to an insane asylum, where he died 2 days later from unknown causes. According to the legend, the scratching of the winged creatures trying to claw their way to the surface can still be heard. Phantoms have been seen walking the empty halls of the castle, and Nazis specifically chose Houska Castle in order to harness the power of hell for themselves. Multiple paranormal television shows have visited Houska Castle and concluded that it is, in fact, haunted.
It's haunted.
I mean, everyone says it's haunted.
What do you guys think of this? Do you think the legends are correct and it was built on top of some sort of portal into another dimension? Or is it just folklore meant to keep the locals scared? Let me know what you think. Please leave a comment below. And until next time, thank you all for watching. God bless you all.